Vinyl Collection Part 41 within this series, continuing on within the S's within my vinyl collection, and yeah, it's been a hot minute since the last edition, as Part 40 was like almost a month ago, so I've been kind of slacking with this. But other than that, what's going to be playing in the background is going to be Youth Code, Commitment to Complications. Best way I can describe these guys is think of Skinny Puppy, but just more of a punk influence, basically, is the best way to describe these guys. So if you're in the mood for like industrial punk music, definitely check out Youth Code. Kicking off Part 41 is going to be the sole full-length album by Sorgs of Art. This is a one-man black metal project that's within the realms of that of like RABM, that being Red Anarchist Black Metal, which is quite obvious with the band logo. The Anarchy A is right within it. But as most RABM bands go for like that mixture of like black metal and punk, which a lot of people don't find that much enjoyment with, and I think that's one of the big flaws with RABM is that they're so focused on the punk aspect of it, of being so rebellious, it loses the essence of that of black metal, where Sorgs of Art is more on the black metal side, and the standout feature about it is there's a lot of like synth and keyboard work within it that reminds me a lot of that of like Windeer and Nocturnal Mortem to an extent, and it's really well composed black metal overall. That huge standout for RABM, and hopefully more Red Anarchist black metal bands go for this approach, because you know it's good compared to the other RABM bands out there that don't really do anything special. But yeah, really good stuff. Not sure if it's still available. I mean, I think I got this on I think the distro was like Pagan Altar or something like that. I forget the distro I got this from, and it's really like bumming me out that I forgot. But I've seen copies online on Discogs for pretty cheap. It's limited to 500 copies. I got number 294 out of 500. And yeah, again, if you're a fan of Nocturnal Mortem or Windeer, it'll definitely click with you. But other than that, for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings, comes on a gatefold with all the lyrics inside, and it's just on double LP plain black vinyl. Up next is going to be Sortilegia, Arcane Death Ritual. This is a raw black metal band based out of Canada that stylistically it's doing nothing new. I mean, again, it's raw and dismal and harsh, a bit ritualistic for the most part, but the standout feature about these guys is that the vocals are done by a woman, and her screams are just so high-pitched and have like that banshee-like shriek to it that it just cuts through all the noise and distortion, and it's really something to kind of admire for the most part within this style of black metal, and it's just simple but really effective raw black metal, which is why I think people who know Sortilegia tend to speak highly of this album because of it. And yeah, it's a really solid album. Put out through Vaughn Records, and I'm pretty sure copies are still available there. I know there's two variants, white, which is long gone sold out, and I just got the standard black edition vinyl pressing of it. But yeah, other than that, for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings, comes on a gatefold. This also includes an A3 poster of the album artwork. As well, I have their follow-up album, that being Sulphurous Temple. Pretty hyped for this when it was announced and released, bought it up immediately. I'm gonna be honest, for the most part, kinda disappointed with it. Like, it's not terrible, and it's still worthy of listening to, and I'm glad I still own it. But the previous album I just feel like is superior. It just feels, with this album, they're being a bit slower. They're really trying to bleed out the ritualistic aspect about them a little bit more than normal. And it just always feels like it's leading up to something, a lot of these tracks. It doesn't really feel like the climax hits as much as before. Still, again, the vocal performance by the vocalist is still top notch. But instrumentally, it just leaves a little bit more for me to be desired with it. Again, maybe I gotta give it a few more chances, but all the times I have spun this, it just doesn't hit me right like the previous album. But yeah, put it through Vaughn Records. Pretty sure, again, this is still available because Vaughn's really good with keeping their records in stock. And yeah, not much else to say with it. Other than that, for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with track listing and band photo. This includes an insert sheet with artwork and a passageway, along with a band photo of the vocalist, which looks really fucking cool. And this vinyl variant comes on like a dark red translucent kind of color, and it's the limited edition, I believe limited to either 300 or 500 copies. Up next is another Canadian black metal band, that being Spectral Wound with their sophomore full-length album, Infernal Decadence. Yes, this is their sophomore full-length because I've seen a lot of people categorize this as their debut, but obviously there's a previous album to this that I would love to get, but I slept on it, and now it's really difficult to get, but still solid. But make no mistake about it, Infernal Decadence is the fan favorite for all the right reasons, because I remember when this came out, in 2018, everyone was just falling head over heels for it. Because yes, it's an atmospheric black metal band at its surface, but it's not like atmospheric black metal in the sense of like, ooh, it's trying to be pretty and trying to fall in love with nature like most atmospheric black metal bands do. This is done in a very aggressive way that's really similar to that of like Fortress, but not as triumphant sounding as Fortress. And yeah, overall, if you enjoy Fortress, I don't know how you can't enjoy Spectral Wound, because the opening track on here, that being Woods from Which the Spirits Once So Loudly Howled, so fucking good. I love this album. And yeah, caught them live 2 times, and both times were just killer performances, plus the drumming on this album, so good, so good. But yes, this is the first press put out through Vendetta Records. Great label if you're a fan of black metal. And ever since then, they've been getting a lot more attention. So Godspeed to them, because this is just really good atmospheric black metal that, again, is very aggressive. But other than that, for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with all the track listings, insert sheet with artwork on one side and all the lyrics on the other. This is the limited white variant of this pressing that's limited to, I believe, 100 copies. Then I also have their follow-up, that being A Diabolic Thirst. This came out already last year. And at this point, Spectral Wound has gained quite a big following for, black metal standards, as already they're signed to Profound Lore. And the hype for this album was quite big, I remember seeing. And for the most part, I would say this album lived up to it. As, again, it's nothing groundbreaking. It's atmospheric black metal done in an aggressive way, which really what they did, they took the writing approach of the previous album and just applied it again to this album. So really not much has changed. I would say, again, drumming is still very pulverizing. Vocals have those very energetic shrieks and riffs that, again, sound similar to that of Fortress, but without like that grand triumphant sound, and just more of like the aggressive approach. So they really haven't changed much, but they just continue on with the success here. And again, I enjoyed it. I think it's still really worthy of checking out and buying and listening to. And what's kind of funny is, for the most part, I've seen a lot of like, those black metal purists kind of hate on this album because they said that it's a disappointment and they didn't do anything new, but they'll praise like all the other like black metal bands that stay true to the black metal spirit. So the hate that this album gets by some of the black metal fans, I roll my eyes at. Just say you hate it because they're signed to a bigger label. Like, I would just have so much more respect if you could just admit that. But yeah, another solid addition by them. Still, Infernal Decadence is superior to it, but if you enjoy Infernal Decadence, think of this as a continuation piece to that album. But yeah, other than that, I'm not sure if this is still available. I know this sold out rather quickly, and I would check Profound Lore to see if there's still copies available. But other than that, for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with all the track listings. This includes a lyric sheet with a silhouette band photo on the other side. And I just have the standard black vinyl edition of it. And you guessed it, even more black metal, because up next is going to be Spectre. This is their third full-length album, Cypher. So Spectre is a French black metal project that recently, with their second half of their discography, has just been strictly an instrumental black metal project, where I believe their debut, they had vocals, but ever since then they've been just strictly instrumental. And it's a different take on black metal for the most part, because these guys also blend elements of that of like industrial and ambience and stuff of the sort, but there's just a lot of experimentation going on here that is quite the oddball for black metal, but that's the French for you. They're always experimenting. And with this album and its riffs and its overall structure, it reminds me a lot of Mayhem's Grand Declaration of War, but just way more engaging and way more energetic. Even the parts that kind of like deviate from the black metal portions and focus more on like the ambience and industrial sections, it's still really intriguing. And Spectre is quite the standout, that you don't really come across that many like instrumentally just only black metal projects. And from what I've come across, Spectre is easily one of the best within this approach for black metal, and yeah, can't go wrong with it. Put out through Agonia Records, pretty sure there are copies still available there, although Agonia, for the most part, when it comes to their shipping prices and overall just reliability of shipping out stuff, they take a long fucking time. Like, I remember it took like a good solid 2 to 3 months for this to come in the mail, so Agonia, kind of iffy on when buying from them. But yeah, again, if you enjoy Mayhem's Grand Declaration of War, but you just want to be even more energetic, definitely check out Cypher by Spectre. But anyway, as for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings. Comes on an A2 poster, which is just that, and I'm gonna be honest, this is a big waste of paper. As well too, comes on a printed inner sleeve of side 1, and side 2 with just additional artwork, and this vinyl variant comes on white. As well, I also have their latest full length that came out back in 2016, that being The Art to Disappear. Wow, wow, and wow, this album is simply incredible. Again, they're going with the approach of just instrumentally driven and only black metal. Alright, there are no vocals other than like some audio samples at the most, but that doesn't really count. And man, this album is amazing and really intriguing. There's this one song on here, I think it's The Day That Will Definitely Come. There's a riff that comes through that is just so punishing, and with all the like industrial and ambient kind of like segments kind of like dancing around that riff, it is so good. It is so good. Definitely check this album out of everything I'm going to be showing within this vinyl part, because Spectre, I would love to hear more material by them. It's been like a good solid 6 years since they've done anything, and The Art to Disappear, if this will be their last album, they ended the project on like the highest of notes possible. Seriously, if you're a fan of like Thorns, but you want like the experimental version of Thorns, listen to this. It is so fucking good. Oh my god, I can't get enough of this album. But yeah, again, put it through Agonia Records. Might still be available there, although I got like the special edition of it, as this is the special edition limited to I believe either 86 or 85 copies, and I got number 23 out of that. And the special edition, besides the vinyl variant, which I'll show in a second, it came with a patch, and I think the patch I have for it is back at my old house, so yeah, kind of a mistake on my part not keeping it all together. But one thing I really love about this layout is all the spot gloss around the gears within both the front of it and the back of it. I think is really cool. As well too, this album does include an A2 poster, and let me tell you, I love Spectre, but their A2 posters seem like a waste of paper because there's not much going on here. Again, comes on a printed inner sleeve with side 1 with the band logo and artwork, side 2 with all the credits and even more additional artwork. And this vinyl pressing comes on clear with like black splatter. Oh god, so the next record is a novelty, just know that. And that's going to be Stallagh Project Nile. So, there's so much controversy with this fucking project. No, for one, it's not a black metal project. I see a lot of people say that it is, and it's not. Besides, like, maybe one drony kind of riff here or there if you, like, nitpick and cherry pick all the Stallagh songs out there. But what this is, it's a noise project that combines, like, drone, dark ambience. And the real selling point is that all the vocals are shrieks and screams and yells of like legit insane asylum patients. Even some of the artwork with some of the like special edition like CDs of like these really distorted like looking faces is all done again by insane asylum patients. The authenticity of this is always questioned, so that's why there's a bit of controversy with it. It's not really known if it's legit or not. But I bought this solely because of the fact that I could. Because on Discogs a few years, like not a few years back, God, back when I started collecting records, I just wanted to see if there was like a vinyl copy of that of anything to do with Stallagh, and turns out there was. And it was like $10, and I was like, why not? Might as well. And I've just always kept it for like the novelty sake. Other than that, I think I spun this like maybe 3 times just to know what it sounds like. And yeah, it's just harsh, droning noise and screaming over it, and that's about it. But yeah, for the layout and packaging, there's not much to really talk about here, as you have album artwork. Backside has nothing. It's put out through Total Holocaust, limited to 500 copies. I have number 481 out of 500, and just comes on a standard black vinyl. And for something now completely different from Stallagh, up next is Stargazer with their album Emerging to the Boundless. This is kind of like a avant-garde, kind of like death metal band from Australia that I am heavily sleeping on these guys. This is their only album I have within my collection, and everything they've done before and after this is really intriguing death metal that, for the most part, I've always compared them to that of Argoslint, but where Argoslint is trying to be like the running wild version of death metal, Stargazer takes like those galloping like riffs that Argoslint does and becomes like the kind of like spacey experimental version of Argoslint, and it's again really intriguing. And I don't know many death metal bands that try to blend both the experimental and like again galloping riff like approach that Stargazer does. And it's really, really good, and I need to get more by these guys. I think I got this at Armageddon a while back and just jumped on it immediately, but their stuff for the most part is really easy to get, mostly put out through Nuclear War Now, and Hell's Headbangers I know also carries copies. But yeah, I am sleeping on these guys. But if you want, again, the experimental version of Argoslint, strongly recommend Stargazer. Really killer stuff. And the bass tone within this, so good. Reminds me a bit of like, yeah, you can also say it sounds like Atheist, but just more of like that galloping, thick riff approach with it. So good again. But yeah, for the layout and packaging with this, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings, comes on a gatefold with artwork and lyric inside, and this is just the standard black vinyl version of it. Moving on next to something that I've been recently obsessing over, yet it's been within my collection for a handful of years, and that would be Street Sects. This is their debut full-length album, and Position. So these guys are kind of like a industrial hardcore punk band, I guess you could categorize them under. because it takes influence of that, of Skinny Puppy, which, you know, a lot of industrial projects do, but it's like, think of the writing of Skinny Puppy, the writing approach of them, meets the energy of Integrity. Not like the guitar riffs of Integrity, because there's no guitars within Street Sects, but the overall energy of Integrity, like, merged together, and you get Street Sects. And man, this is just such a rush of an album to listen to, and I love it. I think it's a song on here, it's the second one, Slots. No, it's a Copper in the Slots. That, man, it's just so thrashy sounding. It's just so ass-kicking at the same time. Because what makes this album just so fun and just such a rush is that every aspect about it is treated like a percussion. From the industrial moments, the synthesizers, the vocals, the melodies, and obviously even the percussion. Just everything feels like they're just slamming their fists up against a wall. And it just makes for just such a fun, energetic, industrial, kind of like hardcore punk approach that I am just getting so much enjoyment out of these guys, and I cannot wait to see them later on this year, as they're going to be the opener for both Health and Perturbator. The whole lineup is awesome, but I'm mainly sold for Street Sects and can't wait for it. But yeah, if you want like the hardcore punk version of Skinny Puppy, definitely check out Street Sects. I'm pretty sure this is still available on the Flenser. Don't hold me to it, but that's where I got my copy of it. As for the layout and packaging within it, you have album artwork, backside with more additional artwork. Comes with an insert sheet, just track listing and lyrics on both sides, along with a printed inner sleeve of that with additional artwork on each side. And this vinyl press comes on yellow with black splatter. Then I have their follow-up full-length album, that being The Kicking Mule. Yes, I'm aware I'm missing their EP. I think it's Rat Jacket is the name of it, but I'm waiting for that in the mail right now. But yeah, The Kicking Mule, for the most part, it seems a lot of Street Sects fans tend to not really enjoy this album all that much. They favor End Position to this easily. I think it has to do with the fact that End Position is the more energetic and just rush of an album. It's way more aggressive. Where The Kicking Mule, they focus more on melody and hooks. And I don't know, I think it gets swept under the rug for the most part. Like, yeah, I personally enjoy End Position over The Kicking Mule easily, but I still admire the change-up that Street Sects went through to make The Kicking Mule, because they could have just done another album where they treated everything like percussion, just started screaming and yelling, where The Kicking Mule showcases to me that Street Sects is willing to experiment their sound in different directions. And yeah, adding in more melody and sacrificing a bit of aggression tends to lead to a less fun experience, but I overall admire the approach nonetheless. Plus, it's not that bad of an album. Like, there's still, you know, screaming within it, and it doesn't sacrifice like all the aggression. But yeah, if you want to get into Street Sects, start off with End Position first. But yeah, The Kicking Mule, for the most part, I enjoy it. Again, you can get this on the Flenser. Like, basically anything of merchandise with Street Sects, go to the Flenser. And yeah, other than that, for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside. Comes on a gatefold. This also includes a booklet that's not lyrics, but I guess it's like a conceptual piece to go along with the album, that being Black Plastic White Sleep. And I guess it's just like a narrative about what the album's themes are all about, basically. Along with an insert sheet, both sides are just lyrics. And this final edition comes on clear with purple splatter. Wow, I'm realizing right now that there's a lot of bangers within this part, because next up is Strawberry Switchblade with their debut full-length album. Sadly, this would be their only album, as even though there are other releases within their discography like demos and cover tracks that you can get separately, this is basically the peak of their existence. I believe it was released, either 1985 or 86. And basically the approach of this is that they capitalized on what was happening with like the scene of that, of like gothic synth pop, basically that of what The Cure was doing. They were heavily influenced by it. And damn, this is just such glorious synth pop. Tracks on here like Since Yesterday, Another Day, Little River, Let Her Go, Go Away, Secrets, Who Knows What Love Is. Just everything about this album is just very lighthearted and glorious synth pop. I love every aspect about it. The synthesizers, the rhythm guitars, Rose McDowell singing, perfection. But again, sadly, this would be their only full-length album, as I know Jill Bryson, the other member, lost interest with making music shortly after its release. And I know Rose McDowell continued on making music with so many different projects, and even obviously being guest spots to that of Death in June and Current 93. And it just sucks that she's kind of known for being a guest musician, where her own projects, they didn't really take off. Like, they're still good and worthy of checking out, but like the peak of her own personal projects really comes from Strawberry Switchblade. But damn, again, it is such a glorious album. Seriously guys, just listening to the opening track Since Yesterday, you're gonna fall in love with it, I can guarantee it. But yeah, if you're a fan of The Cure, definitely check this out. As for the layout and packaging, I'm pretty sure this is the first press, not like it matters, because I mean, it's still easy to get through Discogs for the most part, and it's only gotten like a one and only time pressing, but there's all different pressing versions of it. I know there's a Japanese pressing that I wanted to get that comes with the poster, but that goes for like double the price, so it wasn't worth it for me. But yeah, go on Discogs if you want to get vinyl presses of this. As for the layout and packaging, however, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings. This comes on a printed inner sleeve with credits on one side and a band photo of both Jill and Rose on the other. Nearing the end within this vinyl collection part, up next is the one and only Yellow Black Attack, that being Stryper with their album To Hell with the Devil. So these guys are kind of like well, at least they started out being kind of like a heavy metal, power metal band, I believe based out of California. And the standout thing about them was during their time, they were considered like the rebellion against the rebellion of what was happening in heavy metal. Because you had, bands and artists like Alice Cooper and Merciful Fate that was praising, worshiping the devil and Satanism and shit like that, when that was actually like a concerning topic back in the 80s. Whereas Stryper was playing in the style of heavy metal, but their lyrical themes were about praising Christianity. And I'm pretty sure from what I've read or seen with some live footage, they would also throw Bibles out to the crowd, which is kind of funny to think about, a band that's playing heavy metal throwing Bibles to the crowd. But yeah, they were praising Christianity. And their album, that being To Hell with the Devil, it's not about joining him, but it's about shunning him away, which is different for heavy metal standards with its lyrical themes. But yeah, that's what they were all about. And lyrically, I mean, it's weird to think about a heavy metal band just loving Jesus with some of these songs. It's nothing that good, I guess. Like, it's really cheesy, the lyrics, but damn, the riffs and songwriting is so good. Because the title track, To Hell with the Devil, it's like a power metal ballad. Calling on You is another great track. The sing-along song, which is literally the name of it, is very infectious. And Rockin' the World is very thrashy. That almost sounds like Slayer worship in a way, which is, again, very ironic of a band like this to be like sounding like Slayer. But yeah, so good. The other album I need to get by them is, I think it's the album that came either before or after this. What is it called again? In God We Trust, yeah, is the name of it. Again, just to make it so obnoxious that they're Christian. But ever since then, they've kind of sucked for the most part, because now they've transitioned to more of like a hard rock ballad kind of band that just seems so tamed. Whereas this, the power metal aspect, makes them stand out a bit with their songwriting. As well too, I believe the vocalist, his name is Michael Sweet. Very powerful, his vocals. He's got quite the pair of lungs, so to say, on this album, and it's really good. But yeah, other than that, as you can tell, this album's beaten to shit because I got it on Discogs for like $4, so I ain't complaining. But yeah, go on Discogs and there should be copies widely available to get for, a cheap-ass price. But for the layout and packaging within it, you have album artwork, which I'm pretty sure this is the censored version of it. Backside with track listings and band photo, which again is just obnoxiously 80s looking. And a printed inner sleeve with lyrics and band photo on each side, and just comes on a standard black vinyl. Second to last is going to be Subduer, Death Monolith. This is an EP by a German kind of like bestial war metal noise project, and this shit is punishing. Like, yeah, if you're new to extreme metal, stay away from this because this is going to make you not want to ever check out anything to do with extreme music. Like, this is not for the faint of heart. This is very punishing, very abrasive, that if you're an adrenaline junkie that just really wants to test the limits of what is considered like extreme metal because it borderlines on like that noise aspect, check out Subduer because again, this stuff's awesome for the most part. Put out through Dunkelheit, and Dunkelheit Records, or Dunkelheit Productions, sorry. It's a label that, again, if you really enjoy like that war metal, again, like blending black metal, death metal, thrash metal, all that crazy shit, and just making it obnoxiously aggressive, but you just want it like the next level where it borderlines on like the noise aspect, definitely check out Dunkelheit Productions because there's a lot of bands that sound like Subduer signed to that label, and some pretty killer shit. But yeah, other than that, not much else to say about this because it's really just bare bones, aggressive, obnoxious, harsh war metal. If that doesn't speak volumes, I don't know what will describing this. As for the layout and packaging with this, you have album artwork, backs out the track listings, comes with an A2 poster with the band logo on top and band photo at the bottom. And this vinyl pressing comes on red. And side 2 is that of all dead wax with basically the album artwork. And the last record for this vinyl collection part is going to be Sopnifur, Sühnopfer, I've heard it said 2 different ways, with this album, Offertoire, which I feel like when it comes to melodic black metal, this is one of the best albums I've ever heard, which I know that's a bold statement because there are a lot of melodic black metal albums out there that people say are classics, which I don't even need to say myself because I'm basically preaching to the choir with some of the names you people will bring up. But Offertoire is just so ungodly triumphant. Everything is just so grand. And what amazes me about this album is that it's just done so fast paced. Like the drumming and guitarists are just so blistering fast that it almost gives like a technical aspect off. Like it's not technical black metal by any stretch, but the melodies are just coming at you just so ferociously that there's like technicality with it, and it just blows me away each and every time. I know the guy behind this band, or project I should say, because again it's another one-man black metal project, is it's the drummer, or he used to be the drummer to that of Pest Noir, and I think that's a huge reason as to why one of the songs on here contains Famine as a guest spot with a vocal spot on here. But yeah, again, if you enjoy the French black metal sound of like that super like hyper melodic approach that they've been doing for the past handful of years, I'd argue, again, as bold as this is one of the best albums to go down that approach because, wow, it's just incredible how fast-paced and tight everything comes off sounding like, and always enjoyed this album. I'm not going to bother pronouncing any of these song titles because it's all in French, but yeah, from start to finish, killer stuff that, again, as most French black metal bands do. If you enjoy Dissection, Storm the Light's Bane, but you want like an extra flair with it, definitely check out Sopnifur along with just the French black metal scene itself. But as for the layout and packaging with this is a first press originally put through Those Opposed Records, but recently Osmos, like always, did a repress for it. So if you want copies of this, go to Osmos. As for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with all the track listings, as well comes on a gatefold with all the lyrics inside, and just comes on standard black vinyl. Alright, that'll do it for this vinyl collection part. Like always, I'll leave links provided to everything I talked about in the description below, along with what was playing in the background. But yeah guys, like always, make sure you guys drink plenty of water to stay hydrated, and have a great day.